Hey, welcome back to the table. Um, we're gonna get ready to start playing, and I know I talked about the game briefly. We went through the setup, which took like an hour and a half. Um, but in a nutshell, we're gonna be a president. We're gonna play over 4 years. Each year is called a turn in this game. A year consists of doing each of these steps all the way down. You just follow down, and then you go to the top, down, top, down, keep going all the way to the very end, and that is 1 year or one turn in the game. As I said, there's a lot of dials and levers, and we already have some of our dials and levers that got really negative. Our party relations dropped a lot. Our relation with Congress dropped, and even with the media. The public approval didn't change because of the game rule that prevented that. We're at war with the Taliban, and yeah, and we have a couple events here. We have our event decks shuffled, and there's a whole bunch of events that didn't make the cut, and then these ones can come in because of a possible event. And yeah, let's go ahead and get started. So the basic mantra of the rule book is is that you start with the flip book and you use that to basically dictate your steps. So we're gonna try that. Because I honestly don't know what I'm supposed to do next. So we're gonna do the flip book here, and if you click on this, it'll bring it up here so you can read it close. Otherwise, you can just hit these little arrows and read it this way, which is a little weird. Um, it is trying to explain how a turn works. We start with the beginning of turn sequence, and remember, a turn is a year. Then we do special activations, and that's this, right? And then the activation phase 1, 2, 3, and 4, right? And then final activations. All it's trying to do is it's just showing you in this linear format what you see here. And then we do end of turn cleanup. Now, one important rule is that we can always spend an action point. So it's just, yeah. We always spend an action point to reroll any die that occurs as part of a master action. So diplomacy, domestic, military, or presidential. Once per roll, in such cases, the reroll result is final. No further rerolls are allowed. So um, the the governing the master governing book, it does specify that. So there's actions, and then there's action points. So right now we have 15 action points that we can spend at our discretion. So as you saw, we could spend action points to re-roll a die, and it's going to cost 1. So anytime we don't like the outcome of a die result, we can always spend an action point to get another shot at it. Doesn't mean it's going to go our way, but we're going to at least try to mitigate the randomness, right? But you can also spend action points for your actions themselves. So, for example, um, there's these action sheets which are not included in Tabletop Simulator here. For example, I'm looking at a diplomatic master actions or presidential master actions. There's 4 different ones. There's diplomatic, presidential, domestic, and military. The basically the president gets to do the presidential ones. We have the vice president that also gets to do some. The chief of staff is going to get to do uh, the domestic, and that's the left number. Andy Lewis here is the Secretary of State. He'll be able to do the diplomatic. That's the middle number. And then Krista is our Secretary of Defense, so she'll be able to do military actions on the right. So these 3 are restricted in the type of actions they can do. The vice president, I can't quite remember. I know the president has certain actions that are just for him. So all that I think will get explained in the flip book. Like, you don't have to know all that right now, but just helping you to understand that every one of them is going to get an action, and then within that action you may have to spend action points, because like one of the actions, like especially when it comes to some of the war things, is you can maybe deploy new troops, but you have to spend action points to be able to pull that off. So Anyways, let's go ahead and get going. And I think I'm going to do it this way. We're going to pull it up here, and we're going to go to the next page. All right, so we're going to do the beginning of each turn sequence, and I'm going to just go slow at the beginning, and because I'm learning how to play too. So we're going to go ahead and learn how to do this together. And 1 second. Okay, so at the beginning of each turn year, we perform these 6 steps. So we're at the beginning of the year. So action points do not roll over. Any unused APs are lost, so you can't just hoard them. So if we're playing a normal game, we start with 15 APs, and that was done during setup, and we just mentioned that. So right here, we're at 15 action points. So I don't mind the fact that the rules repeat themselves several times. I like it because you could be coming in from different angles, right? And the only thing that could be confusing is, do I get 15 more? That has happened to me. I'm definitely one of those people, but I'm pretty sure that that's the way this is working. And then it's reminding you that you get +4 if you had the efficient attribute, which we don't. And then from the combat effectiveness track, if your cabinet effectiveness is 4, then that gives you +2. So our cabinet effectiveness is 4. So that's right there, 2 presidential APs. So we actually move to 17. Alright, that works. So I'm really glad that they pointed that out, because I would have totally missed that, even though that's what my little counter says. So far this flipbook is quite good. Like I wish the flipbooks for other games like D-Day at Omaha Beach was this good. But anyways, this is very good so far. -3 if you're disorganized. +2 if you have the amazing chief of staff. We don't. And then put it on the proper spot. So we got it on 17. Apply any effects other than APs gained from presidential attributes or exceptional. So the business friendly attribute, an amazing secretary of treasure, adds economy, a counter. Okay, yeah, so we have, let's go here. We get +1 RWC per turn. So this is going to help negate our RWC stands for relation with Congress. So that moves up. We started the game here, like we went way down, so we at least counteracted that for free. Then we get +1 improved economy per turn. And I believe that is tracked. Where do we track our economy? Oh, here. So we have our state of the economy, and this does not move easily. So let me close this for a second. We have an improved economy token. Where are you? All the extra tokens seem to be over here, but I am not seeing it. So maybe it's closer to here and I just missed it. There's a token you put that has an up arrow. And what I'm referring to is like this one here. See, pro-US trending? Those types of tokens. That's what I'm looking for. Oh, come on. Where is it? I know it exists. I saw it with my physical copy. It's even spelled out in the rulebook that these don't move up easily. They move up very slowly and move down slowly. Alright, let me see if I can find this. It's right here. Economy improving. Right there. So these are used for these economies, right? Whenever they're moving up and down. But it's used for us too. So we just put it right here that we have an economy improving tag, and then that will move up if we get another bump. So if somehow that tag stays the entire year, and my business friendly kicks in again, that would improve. Then also here, at the start of each turn, get +2 public approval and +1 to media relations or party relations, my choice. So we're going to do +2 media approval. Oh. So does +2 mean 2 bumps or just 1 bump because this is 40 to 42? I don't know. That is actually throwing me for a loop here. Everything is in groups of 2s, so I'm going to just make it go up 2 that way. Just 1 bump. And then, well, let's look at this card. See, +1 public approval. See that? We bump it twice. Because there is no 1 increment. Um, okay, so next we get to either improve our media relations, which did go down, or the party relations, which also went down. And so I think I'm going to increase the party relations. Um, I don't know what this bottom number here is, but I want to get to a 1 instead of a 0. Also, this dropped twice, and I know the media dropped as well, but that one's very fickle. For now, I think I want to work on my party and get that improved. All right. So there we go. We applied this and both of those. I don't know of anything else to apply at this point, so let's go back to here. All right. So then it says, not on turn 1. We get to take a cabinet member and give them experience. So we don't get to do that on turn 1. We can replace a cabinet member, again, not on turn 1. We can improve the cabinet, again, not on turn 1. So let's jump here. Set focus regions for National Intelligence Collection. So this is page 41 of the game manual. I may have to go look at that. You may have either 1 or 2 focused national intelligence counters this turn. Check your strategic capabilities for both cyber and strategic recon intel. So we're lower on cyber, but we're higher on this. If both of these values are greater than or equal to China, you get 2 focused national intel counters. In any other case, you get 1. Each available in the world region of your choice. No more than 1 counter per region. You may not place 1 in Russia or China. Yeah, we're not doing the easier games, so we're going to skip that. So I'm going to pause real quick. I'm going to read page 41 to make sure there's nothing else I'm missing. Because my curiosity is, okay, what does this do for me, right? So I get to place it somewhere. But what's it going to do for me when I do? So let's find out. Okay, so page 41 of the rulebook says that the focused national intel is going to give you bonuses when you're doing intel related activities. So we can't put it in Russia or China. That would be pure CIA shenanigans. But since we're at war, I'm going to put it in the, if I can find it. Where are you? Central South. We're going to put it here because we're at war with the Taliban. So I might as well focus some intel on the area that we're at war. That makes total sense to me. So, see, this president thing is real easy. I don't know why we have to elect 2 crazy people. Alright, let's move on. So now we do the U.S. Special Activation. And so, if you're following along, so we did the begin turn sequence. So now we're on State of the Union. So we just keep going, right? This is all U.S. Special Act, so this is all good stuff, right? When we get here, this is when a bunch of bad things are going to happen, and it keeps going. It keeps going. So Now this we don't do State of the Union on turn one, so we're gonna skip that, and we don't do SOE impact on turn one. State of the Union does look cool, and then SOE is State of the Economy. So we don't do this either. I was curious, like what is it? Um, all right, so we don't do that. So all the cool stuff we get to do is already lost. So next thing that happens, we improve strategic capabilities. If the state of the economy is 5 or higher, we roll two different capabilities. And the strategic capabilities track is, I know that's here. Is that the only place it's listed? Oh no, that's each of these. Okay. If the US state economy is 4, we roll for 1. If there's any DARPA raid capability counters, you get 1 roll for each for the track it's on. I don't think there is. You choose to improve, and for any DARPA RC, roll 1d10. Secretary of Defense military rating provides a minus DRM. On a 1 to 5, improve that capability by 1 box, otherwise there's none. Okay, so we're at a 5 or better. We're actually at 6. So we get to choose 2 of these and roll a d10. And on a 1 to 5, it's going to improve. So I think this is when you have to randomly choose one, right? That's what those symbols mean. So I happen to have some d10s that I grabbed. That's these guys. So which one do I want to do? That's a fabulous question. This one we're behind on, the cyber warfare, so I think I may want to catch that up. We're also behind on space warfare. We're going to do cyber warfare first, so I'm going to go ahead and roll this one. That is a 1. So we do get a bump. Yay, team. And we need to roll somewhere else because these tokens got in the way. In real life, I think I want to do missile defense because we learned firsthand how important that was for Israel. I think space warfare sounds interesting. It's like a Reagan thing. Um, Getting these to just be dominant would be nice, but I don't know. I'm always a person that wants to improve on weaknesses instead of strengthening the strengths. Um, so this one here, we're at least tied with Russia. We're truly behind in space warfare. So we're going to go ahead and do space warfare as the other one. So let's go. That's a 9. I can choose to spend an action point. I don't know how stingy I need to be with my action points, so I'm going to go ahead and spend one, and we're going to re-roll. Because I just like this. Oh no, I think it was only, I only get to do that on master actions. See, we're already at a dilemma. So, right here, master action. This was not a master action. So, I won't re-roll. So there's no improvement in our case. So that's fine. Alright, so let's keep going. We just finished strategic capabilities. So now we're going to go to POTUS cabinet focus. Please remove any of the 6 cabinet focus counters to reflect your new domestic focus priorities for the year. If there's any tensions, remove 1. If there's any remaining tension counters left over. Alright, so I don't think I actually roll anything. I'm just setting my priorities. So number 1, see the success thing at the bottom? This is going to be a 50% chance. and then this is like a 10% chance. So they get, um, or am I rolling a d6? If this is a d6, this is a really high chance. That's a 1 in 6 chance. There you go. Roll d6. No, that's a roll d6 here. During the POTUS cabinet focus each turn, roll a d6 for each area that does not have. Right there, it is a d6. So this is a real high chance. Okay, so success effect: remove improved RWC, improve economy, decrease one terror group. Um, Domestic crisis. This is an interesting one. I actually want to improve the economy because we're so close to being at the top. But I want to address domestic crisis and cabinet effectiveness. Boy, it's really funny how this is sort of working out the way I want it to. It's improve relationship with Congress, press relations, and then Homeland Security. Okay. What it doesn't say here is to actually that's my domestic focus. During the 2 POTUS cabinet focus section of each turn. So is that one of them? Where's the other one? There's one here. Oh, there's one here and one here. So that's when we do the dice rolling. So let's go back up. During the 2 segments, roll a d6 for each area that does not have a tension marker. Okay, I see. I don't need economy so badly. I only need one more success in economy to move up. I don't need 2. So I'm going to rethink some of this. I'm going to move the cabinet effectiveness. Like, I still want it to. We got to redo that. I'm going to make this third priority. 50% chance, because I only need this to happen once. Alright, and things could change. That could be a bad move, but it's okay. Then we get one action for POTUS and each cabinet member. So let's read this here. In the 4 master charts, presidential, or remove a tension counter from anywhere on the game board. You can also exchange an action for 1 AP, which sounds like a horrible exchange to do. I don't know why anybody would do that, but each cabinet member may also perform 1. Thus, VP and Secretary of State are both diplomatic. VP and Chief. Okay, VP can do any of them, just not the presidential one. Domestic and Secretary of Defense can perform a military. So the VP can only do the left 2. Ah, interesting. So what's our VP stats? He can do a diplomatic really well. So move counter forward 1 space on a turn. Okay. You can use an action to remove 1 tension counter, except China and Russia. The president can remove tension from China and Russia, but these other ones can remove it from anywhere else. Rotate the cabinet or VP to show they have taken their action. If the cabinet member has +1 action, you may perform an additional. If you're wondering what actions to take, see if this is your first turn on page 6 of the briefing book. Okay, yeah, I don't know. I don't know what turns to take. I don't know if I want to read page 6. So this is an important step, though, because this is where you get to do your actions. Um, the part that stinks for you guys is that if you don't own the game, these actions are not something I can show you here. Like if I knew how to upload local assets, somebody explained this to me once that if I can take objects and upload my own object, and I can scan these into like JPEG or whatever, and then they would appear in my game here for you. It doesn't appear for anybody else, but since I own the game, I can upload the assets, and then they would be in here, so I could use them instead of having them next to me like I do. Um, let's start with the presidential master action, and you're gonna have to just rely on me reading to you a little bit here. But the first one is domestic. It's called presidential presence. Raise your rating with media relations and public approval tracks. So I'm just going to read that much, and then I won't get into like how you do the action. We can use a bully pulpit to rally support for or against a bill in Congress. We don't have a bill in Congress right now, so that one's not very helpful. Um, it's also saying during any blue action segment, you may spend 2 action points to take one additional action of any type in addition to what the action segment allows. So I can spend 2 action points to do 2 actions instead of 1. Now that sounds very handy. I don't think that's what this said though. You may exchange an action for 1 action point. Alright, well anyways, let's keep going. Diplomatic. A UN speech to create goodwill. Why obtain a UN goodwill counter or improve regional alignment in one world region? That actually doesn't sound bad. Presidential trip. Why increase regional alignment in a region and increase public approval and UN goodwill? Invite ally leader to White House to improve relations. Improve relations with ally and remove tensions. Ask for resignation of Secretary of State, Defense, or COS. I'm assuming that's Chief of Staff. Yeah. It's basically you do that to gain a new cabinet member. So this is interesting. Those are things that only the president can do. Some of them I think are situationally very necessary, but let's see. We have diplomatic ones now. We can decrease tensions. We can do a summit with China or Russia to improve relations with them. We can impose sanctions. We can de-escalate a conflict. That's to prevent a war from breaking out. Broker or offer peace. Bring a war or a civil war to end. Crisis relief. Prevent regional crisis from becoming major. Improve one region's alignment. Remove Chinese or Russian influence counter in one region. Ooh, that one might be a decent one. That's a diplomatic one. Make a trade agreement with a region. And then you would look at this chart and resolve what's on the chart. So that's diplomatic. Domestic. Fundraising. That would increase your party relation track. Terror target. Gain intel on terror groups. Raid terror target. Remove one tension from the cabinet. Encourage bipartisanship and increase the ability to introduce and pass legislation. That one might actually be handy because our bipartisan right now is horrible. Look at us, we're at 0. And then diplomatic, I'm sorry, domestic. Discredit, dissuade congressional opponents. We can remove an opponent back to the draw cup. All right. Stimulate the economy. Address a domestic crisis. Improve relation with Congress. Address a lingering domestic issue. What I didn't see is proposing a bill in any of this. Then for military, we can arm sales, resupply, and training with an ally. Initiate hostilities, go to war. Use military professionals to treat disease and other things. Move or deploy U.S. military forces. We request rapid capabilities. Direct intel ops against 2 different terror groups. Perform raid or strike on an terror group. Alright, I am at a total loss on what to do. That's a lot of stuff, and I totally apologize for those of you following along at home. Um, this is very interesting. I think one of the things that is blaring to me is I have no bipartisan cooperation. So the number of bills that can be passed and number of bills that are introduced during each legislative session is A and B. Number in box. Oh, so we're at 0. So I need to get to at least 1 to be able to pass a bill or introduce a bill. So yeah, I do think this needs to move. But the question is that a presidential action or is that a I think that should be a domestic action. And it's going to be a domestic action. It's not diplomatic. So our vice president is diplomatic. So Barry Wallace is our domestic guy. Chief of staff. So we're going to have him do this action to improve this. So here's what it says. It is a domestic master action number 9, if you're following at home. So during any activation segment in which domestic actions may be taken, one successful result. So basically what it's saying is, you know how the president can also do this, or the vice president can also do this? Once you succeed, you can only do this once. Like I can't make this thing move twice. So it's going to cost an action plus an action point to do. So we got to come down here and spend one of our points, which I'm willing to do. Alright, so we do that. Then we're going to roll a d6. If I roll a 2 or less, it gets moved 1 to the right. A 3 to 5 is no effect, and a 6 causes us to lose 1 in party relations. We're not going to get a 6, and here's why. I chose a cabinet member with a 1. Because that's domestic. This is diplomatic. That's war. So we have a 1, which means that we're going to get a -1 to our die roll. So no matter what, we're going to roll a 5 or less. So let's go ahead and roll. I need a rolling spot. Of course I roll a 5. Alright, a 5 would be no effect. So I'm going to go ahead and spend another point to re-roll that die. Re-roll that beautiful bean footage. Let's go. There we go. We got ourselves a 1. So this sucker moves to the right. You, Mr. Wallace, I salute you. Good job. There's an intern with a blue dress that can help you. Alright. Next. I am going to put domestic behind me for now. Let's look at diplomatic. Diplomatic, we have our VP is only good at diplomatic. This guy can only do diplomatic, and they both have +1 action, which means I could do 4 diplomatic actions. Now, I could clearly do another action that's not diplomatic. I just won't have the +1 bonus to my die roll. The dice thing to me is where it's all at. Um, so I don't know what doing a trade agreement is, but I think trade agreements sound awesome. Crisis reliefs always sound good. Improve alignment is good. So it's all stuff over here. So we have, for example, we have domestic crisis that's really bad, but I think that requires a domestic action, which I may still want to do. Um, like here, you got a regional crisis in the Central America. That's close to home. Um, we can try to improve our alignment, which is at a 5 here. Try to get them more aligned. Let's see, we've got trade agreements, de-escalate a conflict, um, impose sanctions, summit with China, which doesn't have to be the president, or decrease tensions. You know what? I'm gonna try. I know this sounds crazy, but I'm gonna follow Obama here. We're gonna do a trade agreement with Mexico here. So let's try it. I just want to see the action and what it does. Establish a trade agreement with a region. During any activation section, which diplomatic action may be taken, it costs 1 action. Optional cost of up to 2 AP for each step below, for -1 to your die roll. So let's see here. I choose a region. If that region has a trade agreement pending counter, continue the second step. Otherwise, make a regional alignment check in that region. If you pass, place a trade agreement. Second, make a relations with Congress check. If you pass, flip the trade agreement pending counter to its trade agreement side and place a trending pro-US marker on the affected region's alignment track. So it costs 1 action. Optional cost of up to 2 AP for each step below. Oh, I see. I could spend 2 AP to give myself a -1 to my die roll. Alright, so here's what we do. It's going to cost an action, which is fine. So we're going to use Mr. Vice President. He's going to spend 1 action. And it says we choose a region. So it says refer to the trade agreement chart, which is on WD4. So this is another one of those books that comes with the game. There is a world. There's a domestic chart book, and then there's a world domestic chart. World charts. The world charts has WD4 on page 6. Okay, so it's saying at the end of each turn during the cleanup step, you get to roll a die on this table that I'm looking at, and there's a whole bunch of different things that could happen to you based on what you roll. Okay, so I'm not going to worry about that. We're just trying to get this thing in place. So, man, I wish I could upload these for you. So we're doing a regional alignment check, which is D18. I'm assuming D18 is a chart I need to look up in one of my books. There we go. Page 20 of the Domestic Charts book. So man, this is getting complex. So we have a regional alignment here. That's 5. So we're doing a regional alignment check. Here we go. When you need to make a track check, follow this procedure. Find the current rating, roll a d10. If the result is equal to or less than the current rating, then you pass. If it's greater than, then you failed. I see. So since the alignment is only a 5, I'm giving myself only a 50% chance of passing this. So I'll be rolling this guy. Now I can choose to spend 2 action points, which I will, and that's going to give me a -1. And then also understand I get a -1 because of my diplomatic skill. So I get a -2. So there's a 6 minus 2 is 4. 4 is less than 5. So we succeeded. It took all of that, folks. So here we go. We got trade agreement pending. Okay, so that's first. If I would have failed, I would have ended this action. So I didn't fail. Make a relation check with Congress. So it's the same thing, but now I'm checking with Congress. Then I get to flip it to a pass if I pass that. And so again, that D20. Man, I have so many charts. It's a relation with Congress check. I see. So it's this one, which is a 4. That one's not looking good for the home team, folks. I'm going to go ahead and spend 2 more because we want to get a -2, right? We got a -1 because of our guy and a -1 because I just spent 2 APs. And that is not looking good. That's a 6. -2 is 4. I needed to be less than... What was it? Less than or equal? Oh, come on, come on. Let's see. If it's equal to or less. Yes. We did it. So then this gets changed to a trade agreement. So thank you, Obama. You inspired me. All right. We got terror groups. We got all kinds of things we can do in these areas. Especially like this one here. There's terror groups out the yin yang. There's influence markers we can remove. I think there's a lot of stuff we can do out here. So with that being said, let's move on to one of the things I wanted to point out is I get 4 actions here because this guy gets +1 action and so does this one, and they're both doing things out here. So we got the Middle East, we have a bunch of terror groups and a rogue state. So let's deal with some of this. So I want to try to, and then I also now understand the importance of improving alignment because we're going to be doing checks. So I think I want to try to, see this has a level 3 crisis. Let's do crisis relief. So it costs an action. So this will be the second vice president action. Roll a d10. And if I roll a 1 or less, I get to decrease this by 2. A 2 through 6 reduces it by 1. And if I roll a 10, it gets even worse. So I do get to do minus the diplomatic rating of your Secretary of State, or -1 if the regional stability is 6 or higher. So that regional stability really does matter. Starting to really get the hang of that. But let's try this first. Now I know it says -1 for your Secretary of State. I'm assuming that it also is -1 because of this. Like I'm ignoring the Secretary of State and I'm using the vice president one instead. I could be wrong. If anybody knows, let me know. Here we go. That's a 5 minus 1 is 4, and that's enough to reduce the crisis by 1. I will take it. So both of his actions are done. So now we're going to do Andy Lewis, and his action is we're going to try to improve the regional alignment in the Middle East. Yes, we're going to tackle that problem that nobody else has ever done. So let's try to improve by 1. Make a regional alignment check. If the result is a natural unmodified 10, place a trending anti-US counter on the... Oh my gosh. If I pass, it's trending pro-US. Yeah, because right now it's trending anti-US. See that? I get to subtract the diplomatic rating of the Secretary of State. Plus 1 if Russia or China has influence in the region. So I'm going to have to add plus 1, which that cancels my roll. So I'm doing a regional alignment check. So if this moves up, it gets easier to move up. But because it's a 5, it's harder. That's really interesting. Alright, I don't get any bonuses here because the Russian influence is canceling my skill. That is a 6. That is not good enough for government work here. But it's also not going to make this worse. So I'm going to go ahead and try again with my other action. Oop, that was not good. Is it going to come back? I don't think it did. I need a dice rolling thing. There we go. We got a 2. A 2. Yeah, it's just pass or fail. So 2 is less than 5, so this gets removed. It does not move up, folks. It takes a lot. I have to do a trending up, and then eventually it moves up. So it's going to take a lot of actions. Alright, so all those actions are done, and now we got military actions. Well, we are dealing with a war here. So let's see if there's something we can do to help with the war. We could reposition carriers. Treating disease and all this stuff. Let's see what that does. It's only in regions with a war or civil war. Yeah, let's do that. So it's a Military Master Action 7. It's called Use military professionals to treat disease, build schools and clinics, or create other infrastructure in a war-torn region. So this is a war-torn region. During any activation segment in which military actions may be taken, it can only be taken in regions with a war or civil war, or where the U.S. has been at war any time during the turn. So that would be us. We're going to roll a d10. If we get a 1 or a 2, we're trending pro-U.S. and get a goodwill counter from the United Nations. If there is, place a 3 to 4 is place a trending pro-U.S. or get a UN goodwill counter. 5 to 7 is -1 to the regional crisis. 8 to 9 is no effect. And 10 is you made it worse. Alright, let's hope it's not a 10. We get a +1 to our die roll here. Let's go, let's go. Big bucks, no whammies, low numbers. No, 8 is bad. Now, we do get to add a -1, right? So that makes it a 7. And a 7 in this case was -1 to the regional crisis. I'll take that. That at least moves this down to 1. It's a nice way to get rid of these military footprints. Because remember, we had military footprints in multiple places here. So we're going to try this one. Because, see, this one has Civil War. I get one more action. So we tried it here. We're going to now try the same thing here. So let's go. Ooh, that's a 3. Oh, these get a +1 if there was a China influence. Or Russian. That would have gotten a +2. What did I roll? I rolled a 7, right? That would have become a 9. Holy crap, I almost caused... This did not move down. These guys are adding +2 to our roll. This one's adding a +1. We do get a -1 because of our Secretary of Defense rating. So those just cancel out. So I basically have a natural 3. And we're in the Middle East. And a 3 does not remove a military footprint count. Or no, it does. So we're going to place a trending pro-US counter in the region. That I like. I like Pizza Steve. Let's go for that. Trending pro-US counter in the region. Boom. And or receive a UN goodwill counter. I actually don't know which is better. Alright, I just want to look at what a goodwill counter does. So I'm just going to pull one and look at it. This is not gameplay. So it's a 2. What does that mean? I have no idea. Alright. So it gives me a number, which I'm assuming is boosting something. I know there's a place to store it here. Alright, back to regular scheduled programming. So we put in the pro-US. I am happy with that decision instead of a goodwill counter. -1 to regional crisis in the region. Bam. Another one down. If regional crisis is already 0, then remove military footprint. So it's not at 0 yet, so I can't remove the military footprint. If I would have gotten a 1 or a 2, I would have been able to remove the military footprint first. But that's not the case here. Okay, so that brings me back to now as the president, I get to do my action. And I'm going to look at the presidential master actions again, because I feel like since only the president can do those, I want to do one of those, even though these other actions seem to be pretty fun. We can do a presidential trip to get public approval and UN goodwill. Invite ally leader to remove tension, improve relations. I don't need a resignation of chief of staff. I like my cabinet so far. UN speech to create goodwill. That might be worth it. Corralling the cabinet. So you roll in the cabinet improvement table. Ooh, so what's the cabinet improvement table? Oh, I see. That would cause your cabinet effectiveness to move up. So you're going to get more APs. Interesting. That's not an awful thing to do. Presidential presence raises rating on media relations and public approval tracks. There's no bill in Congress yet, so I can't do the pulpit thing. There's no summit with Russia or anything. I could do a summit with Russia. That would just be a regular diplomatic action. I'm not ready to do that yet. Let's focus on either improving the cabinet, speech to create goodwill. So the presidential trip is you would go to a region and you would do a presidential prestige check. Presidential prestige is this, right? I have 6. That's alignment and stability. I wouldn't know where else a prestige check is even done. So I guess you're doing a check here against 6. And if you pass that, you place a trending pro-US counter in the region. If there's a war in the region, or if stability is 3 or 4, I could get appreciation for my efforts. Interesting. So we could do some presidential stuff, because, like, look at this. They got big time crisis going on in Africa, too. Um, we could also try to get Saudi Arabia to have a better relationship and remove the tension that's there. Man, we're gunning hard on the Middle East there if we do that. But that's not horrible. I mean, people do that all the time. We could also try to improve with India because this is a war-torn area right now. I don't know what the right thing to do is, but this would be ally to improve relations with an ally and remove tensions. Choose an ally with relations not very close, of course, because the very close ones don't matter. Roll a d10. If it's a 6 or less, I improve the relationship by 1 level and remove 1 tension from the ally. 7 and 9 is no change, and a 10, of course, is an insult. I can spend 1 action point to get a -1. I get a -1 if you have the ally's best friend attribute, which I don't. +1 if the ally is estranged. None of that's the case. So I'm going to go ahead and let's do India here. We're going to remove the tension. I am going to spend the 1 action point to... It puts me down to 10. And I'm going to get a -1. So I'm at a 5, -1. I don't think my president has any bonuses of his own. So 5 -1 is 4. And we said that a 6 or less, yeah, 6 or less did the trick. So we could come over here and grab... India is now very close, and we remove the tension from India. Excellent. I feel very presidential. Alrighty then. Okay, so we are done with our actions. Yeah, 1 action for POTUS and each cabinet member, and then of course you get +1 actions in those cases. So I like the extra actions. That was a lot of fun. So now we're moving to the activation phase. And I'm going to go ahead and end the video here. We will start this in the next turn. And it looks like there's a lot of stuff to go through, and a lot of this is not going to be good for the home team. So anyways, I apologize. I know I'm stumbling through this. I had stated from the beginning I'm learning as I go. I hope you're finding this helpful. I feel very confident in all the conclusions I've made. Sometimes I'm like, oh, okay, how do I do this? But I don't think it's a difficult game to play. It's just it's very overwhelming, and there's charts everywhere. I am bumbling through 12 different books and charts here. I know you don't get to see them on this particular screen, and if I were recording a physical copy, you would at least see all the different charts. But it would frustrate me very much. because I have all these components out in front of me and I'm flipping through all these books. It's very frustrating to do. Anyways, thanks for watching. As always, stay awesome.